The polar vortex is going to send an Arctic blast all the way into the United States, into the deep south, sending easily the coldest temperatures of the season and setting up two winter storms. And one of them is going to drop all the way down to the deep south, folks. We're talking places like in San Antonio, Houston, Lake Charles, getting into Mobile, areas of Pensacola. Could likely actually see some wintry mix or even snow. Yeah, that is on the table, folks, with this true Arctic blast is going to be impacting the U.S. over the coming days. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel to keep you well ahead of the storm. So let's take a look at the setup going forward. This is your hazard map, and right now there's not much actually going on. In fact, no winter weather advisories, no precipitation for those areas out west. We do have some winter weather advisories for areas of Montana. That is a system that's ongoing right now through the Rockies. Places like in Denver is actually seeing some snow and ringing out some snow in portions of western areas of Kansas and to Oklahoma. Even the panhandle of Texas is seeing snow. There's the beginning stages of that Arctic blast, and that's where we have extreme wind, extreme cold warnings up there in Minnesota. We're talking wind chills dangerously 50 below zero, folks. And even an extreme cold, warning for areas of Indiana, back in Ohio. And there is more winter weather advisories that's going to race up the eastern seaboard with their own winter storm. And then further south, as we head into Monday night and Tuesday, we have yet the second winter storm that's likely to develop. And they already have winter storm watches for areas of southeast Texas, places like into Beaumont, Lake Charles, even New Orleans, folks. Gulfport, Mississippi is under that winter storm watch currently right now. So things are happening, folks. And right now you can definitely see the Arctic blast coming down the pike, with checking in at 36 below zero. Feels like up in the Dakotas, those negative numbers swing all the way down into Kansas. So they're definitely starting to feel the effects of that Arctic blast that is definitely swinging well south and actually and well into Mexico and much of the lower 48. That's why this one's actually unique, even though it does send further south and likely elongates and spread west and east. By the time we wake up on Tuesday morning, much of the lower 48, in fact almost 95% of the lower 48, will actually experience freezing conditions. So no one's going to be left out from this colder air that's coming. And as it pushes further south, the jet stream is going to have a little bit of a lift, and that's what's going to create some of those snow opportunities and winter weather opportunities as this jet stream pulls the air further southbound. And then as it lifts northeast, that's where we have the greatest potential going into your Saturday, this afternoon, into Sunday, of likely seeing some snow. So we have the snow coming down from the Rockies. That's where we are currently right now. So you should see snow flying this afternoon in Montana, areas of Wyoming, back into Colorado, as well as into western Kansas. And then the rain changing over to snow with the freezing line. This red line right here, that is your freezing line. So obviously anything north of there is going to be in the frozen type precipitation. So we should start to see a changeover for some areas in northern areas of Ohio, back into Canada, and then well into southern Canada. And further south, still outside of that Arctic air, but some light to moderate rains for areas across the southeast before that second winter storm starts. So as we get into Sunday morning, more areas are going to start feeling the effects, and that's when you'll likely start to see some of those 50 below wind chills start popping up in the Dakotas. That's dangerously cold, folks, all the way down into Minnesota, Iowa, getting to those negative numbers. Now we're talking in Missouri. It's really you're gonna really feel it in 4 degrees. Waking up feels like in Oklahoma City. There you go, 11 degrees there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So yes, definitely feeling the effects of that colder air, and that's even colder as we head into Tuesday morning and going into that Sunday afternoon. There is that initial snowstorm that we'll be dealing with up there across portions of the Ohio Valley, getting into Kentucky, as well as into West Virginia. That will eventually sneak into areas of Pennsylvania and deepen as we have a little bit more lift getting into that Monday afternoon time frame. So as it does, it'll be taking advantage of that little dip in the jet stream. And when it does, some heavier snows will likely unfold as that Arctic air continues to plunge southbound. So heading into that Sunday afternoon time frame, the freezing line now shifts all the way into Louisiana, back into Mississippi, as well as into Alabama. And north of there, we should start to see more heavy snow flying into Virginia, back into Delaware, getting into the DC area, Philadelphia, New Jersey, back into areas of Long Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. Everyone is going to be getting into the action with a good, I'll show you some snow amounts here in a little bit. And here they are from the latest from the National Weather Service. So we have this first initial snow that's coming down the Rockies currently right now. So it's already snowed a pretty good deal. This is kind of the leftover snow of what's left to come over the next day. But here's the first snowstorm that we're talking about up here into the Northeast. And these are, fairly decent amounts, folks. I mean, we're talking 3 to 5 inches in eastern areas of Kentucky, back into West Virginia. Once you swing up into Pennsylvania, and especially up here in northern New Jersey, getting into New York State, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire, back into Maine. Yeah, some easily from 4 to 8 inch snow swaths across those regions, and even some maybe isolated amounts of over a foot of snow is definitely not out of the question with this coming system for this winter storm that's going to be unfolding between now and Monday night. So after Monday night, that's when we'll start to see the beginning stages of our second winter storm that will likely unfold as we start to see more Arctic air pulling down from Canada. You can tell it's Arctic air because, man, that's a 1044 high pressure there in Arkansas. That's rarely see, and no one gets left out because that's a 1041 over West Virginia. That's even a 1036 down there in Mexico, folks. It's cold. It's expected to be cold across the Rockies, but it's pretty rare to see something like this heading all the way down into the deep south, and that's how unusual this event is going to end up. So as we head into a Monday afternoon, getting into Monday night, we'll be watching another area of disturbed weather out west. This is going to cause the lift mechanism well ahead of it. The difference this time is that Arctic air plunges all the way down into the deep south. It likely unfolds. It likely reaches all the way down here, folks. I mean, it's not stopping once it passes Mexico. This cold air is coming. There's not much to stop this. And as it does, that's going to set up a little bit more lift and create that beginning stages of the winter storm. So as you wake up on Tuesday morning, these are actual temperatures, folks. This is when I think about 95% of the country is going to be experiencing a freezing conditions all the way down to the deep south, much of the west, much of the central U.S., everywhere in the east. It's only escaping in central and southern Florida and areas out west into California and along the coast of Washington and Oregon. Everybody else is going to experience this cold blast to come, and the true Arctic air is in the middle part of the country, of course, up here into areas of Dakotas, back through Minnesota. But yeah, you could be maxing out at 43 below zero, folks, with the wind chill of 50 below. That is definitely some cold stuff. And as it does, look at the water vapor it's going to be able to tap into as that low pressure forms and as the Arctic air continues to plunge southbound. So this is a rare event, folks. Something to see, this combination of the Arctic blast, and then you have a storm developing out west, falling into that Arctic air and creating that lift with additional water vapor. And we're talking areas that just don't see snow, folks, very often at all. So let's move through the details here, because I mean, this is a pretty significant event for those areas across the deep south. So yes, we're talking San Antonio, we're talking Austin, down there into the Houston Metroplex. Beaumont, Port Arthur is going to be seeing snow, if not heavier snow. Lake Charles, getting into New Orleans. Yes, we're talking heavy. There's got winter storm watches already in place for 4 to 8 inches of snow down there, and even some mixed accumulations well south, San Antonio, like Corpus Christi, well south, getting into some icing setup, and there will be some icing across Houston as well as into areas of Beaumont, Port Arthur as well. And as this continues to move east, yeah, man, this could be some heavy snow. I mean, we're talking heavy snow. How often can you say that? Heavy snow in Lake Charles, heavy snow into New Orleans. Okay, that is a rare event, folks. And getting into Gulfport, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama, we're talking heavy snow, folks. I mean, that is a very unusual event. And getting into Destin, Florida, Pensacola, I mean, these are areas that haven't seen snow in many, many years, folks. I mean, this is definitely a rare event. And as this continues to push through, unfortunately, it's going to create a dangerous ice storm across this region of Tallahassee, through areas of portions of Jacksonville, southern portions of Georgia, as this winter storm just explodes up the eastern seaboard through the Carolinas. I mean, I know so many people over the years have said, where's my snow in South Carolina? Where's my snow in North Carolina? Here it is, folks. It is coming, and especially for areas along the beach. Who would have thought you got to head to the beach to see snow? That's exactly what's happening with this second winter storm, because this is a very, very rare event. And in fact, with some of the snow that's already on the ground right now, and if this does in fact come to fruition from Texas up the eastern seaboard, at one point on Tuesday, all 50 states could actually have some snow on the ground. If that definitely happens, that would be the first time since 2010. It's a rare event, folks. We haven't seen this in many, many, many years. So definitely, you know, exciting for those times, for those areas across the South that has been just don't really see snow, that's actually going to be seeing snow. So as we head into that Wednesday afternoon, it's going to be dying down. So as it continues to move off to the east, I think this low pressure, at least this system, will be continue to move off into the Atlantic. It's not going to ride up the eastern seaboard. So you'll get the snow up there in the Northeast with the first storm, but you're likely going to miss out on the snow on the second storm. So look at the second storm, folks. This is outside of the first storm. So we had the storm from across the Intermountain West. We had the winter storm through Monday night across the Northeast and portions of Pennsylvania and the Mid-Atlantic. This is the second storm, right? So probably a dusting or two there in Dallas, but you get into central Texas, you're talking an inch or two. You get further south into, say, Austin, San Antonio, especially there towards Houston, you get into the 2-4 inch range. You get into the southeast Texas, like Beaumont, Port Arthur, Lufkin area. That's when you start getting into the 4 to 8 inch range, especially as you swing into Louisiana, New Orleans, the southern portions of Mississippi, Alabama. Look how rare this is, folks. I mean, the panhandle of Florida is going to be seeing snow. Southern Georgia, southern portions of South Carolina, along the coast could really overperform. And they got the ocean to work with, right? I mean, you got the lift, you got the Arctic air in place, and the ocean to work with. So they could really overperform. We could see some foot totals, maybe even not out of the question, as some isolated areas through the Carolinas. That's a very unusual event, folks. And this will finally start winding down, but also leave some ice in its wake too. So outside of the snow, you will be getting the ice, and that is dangerous stuff, folks. And some of these accumulations could accumulate up to a 1/4 inch of ice, and even maybe some higher accumulations up here in northern areas of Florida, as well as into southeastern Georgia. But outside of that, as far as like the precipitation goes, outside of those winter storms, remember, Arctic air is kind of a drier air. So much of areas out west will be kind of bone dry for much of the week to come. And then you have another goose egg across the middle part of the country. You'll have the Intermountain West stuff, and then you'll have, of course, the first snowstorm. And then there's the second snowstorm that will come up along the coast and well up into Florida, into the Carolinas, heading into Monday night, Tuesday, and finally starting to wind down on Wednesday morning. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update, where I protect you before and after the storm.